Her name sounds like an old-fashioned girl in a New England village, Amy Alcott. But yesterday she showed her athletic talent and determination as she led the U.S. Women's Open Championship through the third round. This shot from the rough on 18 just after we left the air put her in position for a par that would complete a round of 68, give her an 8-shot lead going to the final day, and set a tournament record for 54 holes. Amy Alcott is not actually from New England, but Southern California. Physical condition played as large a part as talent yesterday, with temperature over 100 degrees in Nashville, Tennessee. The leader, Amy Alcott. Well, conditions were the same when play started today. Trailing Amy were former champion Hollis Stacy, then Nancy Lopez Melton, still seeking her first U.S. Open title, tied with Canadian Sandra Post and former amateur champion Beth Daniel. At stake, the U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship trophy and the honor of saying for the rest of your life, I was the United States Open champion. ABC Sports presents a national championship conducted by the United States Golf Association. Today from Richland Country Club in Nashville, Tennessee, it's the final round of the 28th United States Women's Open Golf Championship. The sun shines bright on the city of Nashville today, too bright. The temperature hovers around the 100-degree mark as the great American heat wave of 1980 continues. There still are plenty of tourists, however, come to see Nashville's most famous attraction, the Grand Ole Opry. Country music first came to the city in Nashville 55 years ago. Now it's spread around the world. But the big attraction today, the special attraction, is this young woman, Amy Alcott of California, currently leading easily the United States Women's Open Golf Championship at 4 under par, an 8-stroke lead, just the way she started the day over her nearest rival, Hollis Stacy. Then Beth Daniel, former U.S. amateur champion, Jane Blaylock, Louise Bruce, and Kathy McMullen. A look at other leaders: Donna Capone-Young, Judy Clark, Eva Chang of Taiwan, Lori Garbazy. Nancy Lopez Melton took 6 bogeys in a row on the front 9. You see her there at 10 over par for the championship. Well, here we are. Good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay, speaking from our pressure cooking booth up here high above the 18th green. And remember that this is for the National Championship of the United States in women's golf, just as surely as the U.S. Open was for the National Championship of men's golf a few weeks ago when Jack Nicklaus put on that history-making golf performance. The only difference here is, well, in the men's competition, you have to be a professional or have a handicap of 2 or less to try to qualify. In the women's, a professional or an amateur with a handicap of 4 or less. Let's bring in a man whose handicap has always been 0 for many years now. Scratch player, former PGA champion, Dave Marr. So, the final round of the U.S. Open, and that says a lot about it, doesn't it? Just that title.
Well, it usually means a lot of pressure. In the U.S. Open, of course, very few people ever have a chance to win it or ever qualify. Now, here's a young lady, Amy Alcott, who has just played marvelous this week. Jim set a 54-hole record and scoring a lot better than the other players. Her destiny is in her hands. I mean, she would just have to play awful, I believe, for someone else to win. If she'll just do as she's doing now, 72 or 73, she'll be the Open champion. And as you pointed out earlier, that is something to carry with pride the rest of your life.
No question of that. However, the one opponent she really has to beat then is herself, and one other thing, old Devil Heat, because he's out there today and he has been laying people low right and left. The temperature, 98 degrees right now, humidity 40%, wind at 12 miles per hour, does not seem to make anything cooler, not at all. Well, let's go back now and talk to our other expert of the weekend, Rhonda Glenn, television sports reporter, writer on the game of golf, and expert player of the game, as a matter of fact. Well, the woman of the moment is the same as yesterday, Amy Alcott.
Amy is playing so well, Jim. It's not surprising to me because she plays very well in the major tournament. She's won one of them. She finished second in another. But it's almost like she's playing in a different championship and on a different golf course this week from the rest of the players.
And, of course, one major championship she has not won, however, is this one, the U.S. Open. She would seem to be on her way. Let's take a look now at the final pairings, the women that we'll be seeing the most of in our coverage for the next 2 hours or until conclusion. Donna Capone-Young is playing today with Kathy McMullen. Moving up ahead, Jane Blaylock, another of the well-known stars of the game, with Nancy Lopez Melton, who is melting under the heat out there today, it appears. Then Sandra Post, the Canadian who had a fine round yesterday and Friday, but having her problems today. And Beth Daniel, the former U.S. amateur champion, Rookie of the Year on the Women's Professional Tour last year. And the final pairing, Hollis Stacy, twice a winner. In fact, she won it twice in a row of the U.S. Open. And Amy Alcott trying for her first. Well, now, As for our coverage, we'll be showing the entire back nine today. And notice that there are 3 par 3s. That's an unusual circumstance on a golf course. And 2 par 5s. All the rest, of course, are par 4s. That 17th has been a tough one for everybody in the competition, although it's only 306 yards long. You'll see why very shortly here as we begin our coverage. Here is the way the holes lay on the golf course. We're going to go out right now, however, to the golf course and pick up the live action in the U.S. Women's Open. The 10th tee. This is a par 3 hole. Let's see who we have there. First, a look at the hole, Dave.
Jim, it's a 167-yard par 3 downwind. The flag is in the right center of the green. There's a bunker just behind the flag. So if you're picking your club here, if you're undecided, I would take the shorter club. If you were trying to decide between a 5-iron or a 6-iron, downwind, and with the trouble in back, always a good rule of thumb to pick the short club.
Okay, well, here they come. Here's Amy Alcott, the championship leader. Still 4 under par, just the way she started the day. Almost everybody has picked up at least a bogey or 2 along the way. She picked up 1, but she got it back again and is still at 4 under par. Rhonda, how would you contrast the personalities of these 2 women playing together, Alcott and Stacy, who have played together since they were kids?
Well, actually, I would have to say their personalities are very similar because they're both very effervescent and bubbling. They enjoy the game of golf. They love life on the tour. And I imagine they're having a good time playing today.
Their background's a little bit different, of course. Hollis Stacy from a family with 10 children down in Savannah, Georgia. Her mother involved in the game as a USGA official. Amy had a lonelier time.
Yes, Amy had a little bit of a difficult childhood, but her mother saw to it that she got to all of the junior tournaments, and I know she feels a great debt of gratitude to her mother for doing just that.
When I said they played together as kids, I meant as competitors in girls and junior championships. They did not know each other as when they were growing up before that. Bob Rosberg?
Well, this is not a very good shot right here. She hit it heavy, I believe. It's short of the green to the left, Jim.
Okay, well, that's Bob Rosberg, another former PGA champion who is following the final group today, as is his wont. He'll be right out there on the fairways as far as we all make it today, which should be to 18. We say that the heat has taken its toll. Joanne Prentice, for example, a veteran golfer, had to leave the course at the end of 9 holes, went to the hospital where the report is that she's okay. In a stable condition, as they put it. She had a very fast heartbeat, something that she has had before, by the way. Hollis Stacy of Savannah. What do you think she's using, Bob?
I believe this is a 5-iron, Jim. She's got to try and hit it at the hole. She's got a little different situation than Amy. She's got to start making some birdies if she's going to put any pressure on her at all. And this ball's going to the right. It's on the right front, though. Not too bad.
No? Nice shot by Hollis Stacy. And so the live action flows at the Richland Country Club in Nashville. There's the situation, and we'll be right back. There again is how they stand at the United States Women's Open. Let's meet now 2 other members of our commentary team, Peter Allis from across the sea and Frank Hannigan of the U.S. Golf Association.
Well, it's the final round of the 1980 Women's Open Golf Championship, and Frank Hannigan, you must be delighted with the way the course has stood up to this horrendously hot weather.
Yes, it's very difficult to maintain bent grass greens in this kind of temperature. 100 degrees, high humidity. The man has done a very good job. That is, the man being the golf course superintendent.
Well, I've been listening to some of the messages coming back to the head greenkeeper saying, you know, we need some water on 12 or 5, whatever.
Yes.
Syringing?
Syringing is the word. Cooling the plant off, or else it literally dies right before your eyes in a matter of hours.
Really? Well, now, you've been involved with the amateur program, both on the women's side and men's side, for many, many years. What are the main changes with the women's golf?
The main change in the last decade is the proliferation of very good, young, strong players, largely attributable to something in America, a federal regulation known as Title IX, which requires American colleges and universities to give women athletic scholarships as well as men. So they're being very highly trained in the craft of golf. Now, they're supposed to be getting college educations and degrees, too. That doesn't always happen.
Well, they're certainly learning how to play golf well. Let's go out and follow their fortunes.
All right, Peter and Frank, here is on videotape Amy Alcott just a few moments ago. Remember, she had hit her tee shot short on the par 3 10th hole, narrowly missing the bunker, but this was the second shot. And this is the kind of play that's been keeping her where she is all through this championship. Just whenever it looks like she's going to get into trouble, she steadies. Rock solid. She tapped that in for a par. Hollis Stacy had this for a birdie. This is live now. Yep, you see it? So they'll each par the hole, and that does not help Hollis's cause at all. She remains 8 strokes behind Amy Alcott in second place in the U.S. Women's Open. 1 over for the day, as you see. Each of them 1 over for the day. Amy Alcott had earlier rounds of 70, 70, and 68. She's 1 over for the day. Hollis had 75, 71, and 70 yesterday, and she's 1 over for the day. And so on they move to the 11th hole. Now, Nancy Lopez, who had 6 bogeys in a row, has had more trouble, believe it or not. Let's go to Bill Fleming for a report on that.
Jim, and I don't understand it, really. It's a little bit cooler today. In fact, the thermometer that I'm holding in my hand, if you compare it to what we showed you yesterday at about this time, it was 104, and now it's about 98. I think it's the wind that's bothering Nancy more than anything else. After she went with those 6 bogeys, as you know, she birdied the 10th hole, came back and hit it in the trees at 11 and bogeyed it. And now at the 12th hole, which is a relatively simple par 3, she hit it up in the trees. The ball caromed off the trees and bounced into the water hazard. She has now gone back to the tee, hit her 3rd shot onto the green. So it's a most certain bogey, maybe a double here again. So it's a combination, I think, really of heat and wind. It's more wind than we've had so far, and it's certainly taking its toll.
So she hit it from the tee. Now, Frank Hannigan, she had an option there of a couple of things to do, didn't she?
Yeah, she could have dropped behind the hazard, keeping the point where the ball last crossed the margin of the hazard between herself and the hole. I assume, however, she evaluated the options and decided really that her best chance was to go back to the tee.
So she did, and this then will be her 4th shot on the par 3 hole. Nancy Lopez having a day she will try to forget, but undoubtedly will not be able to. 6 bogeys on the front 9. So she had a 7 over 43 on the front, and there, that'll be, if she taps that in, a double bogey 5 to put her at 12 over. The 11th tee now with the leader, Amy Alcott. 11th hole, an interesting one.
Jim?
Not particularly difficult. Yes, Bob?
Another real good drive right down the right-hand side of the fairway, and just a perfect position to come into the flag.
Has she been as rock steady all the way today, Bob, as yesterday?
Played very well, Jim.
Yep.
She's played beautifully all week. In fact, I think it's the best I've seen a girl play for an entire National Open in all the time I've been covering them.
Well, the figures would indicate that. If she pars in from here, she will break the 72-hole record by 4 strokes. Now Hollis Stacy in 2nd place.
Also down the right side, hooking into the fairway, just a perfect drive.
As I said, Dave, this is not one of the more difficult holes on the course, really.
Well, it plays a little shorter than 362, Jim. It's the 2nd shot is downhill a little bit, but the green has a lot of contour to it.
Okay, let's have a look now at those 2 tee shots together.
Well, we're going to look at these 2 swings. As you see, Hollis Stacy on the right, and Amy will be first to go on the left. And I just would like to show you a little bit of difference here in the length of their backswing, Jim. Now, Amy has her way of doing it. A lot of people ask, how long do you take the club back? Well, let's just stop it right there. It's good. Now, we'll watch her swing would say be called a 3/4 swing, while Hollis, on the other hand, gets the club back to parallel, which is more of a full swing. But they both work. I think for the people at home, what you want to do, take the club back as far as you can and still control it.
Of course, any fine golfer, when they get into the hitting area, has to be pretty much the same, don't
they certainly do. Look at those, both good positions there.
Okay, so those are the 2 leaders in the U.S. Women's Open of 1980. The coverage is live. It will continue from the Richland Country Club in Nashville, Tennessee.
And that's how they stand. Hello, I'm Peter Allis, looking down through the scoreboard there at the 12th green, and you can just see one of our trusty greenkeepers there swinging green, doubling away, removing all the pipes. And let's go and find our championship leader, Amy Alcott, 2nd to the 11th.
It's just a little knockdown 9, going right at it.
Superb shot. Bob, you've been walking with Amy. the weather is very hot. As we've just looked back at the 12th, the shringing has just ended. This was the hole that Nancy Lopez just dropped 2 strokes on. She hit the tree, went in the water, took 5. We're looking now at Daniel and Post. That's Beth Daniel's tee shot, and on the green, right club, exactly the right club. Now Sandra Post, who dropped 2 strokes, double bogey at the par 3 10th. She dropped 1 at the 11th, and is now dropping away completely out of contention at 11 over par. It's now 14 over for the championship.
Come on, Win, let her go.
And comes through the branches of the trees. Those are the trees that Nancy Lopez Melton hit and went back into the water. Now, just moments ago, this second shot was taped Hollis Stacey down the hill to the 11th. You can see the pretty wide, generous green flag today at the back of the putting surface. Good shot, digs in, unlucky. Backs up and takes her further away from the hole. And it's interesting, Frank, I think, to compare. You see Alcott there, 8 strokes ahead. And records seem to go on and on for so long. I'm not saying that Amy will beat the record set up by Mary Mills as long ago as 1963. But Jack Nicklaus crashed all those records in this year's men's championship. And it really does look, as the holes run out now for the remaining competitors here, apart from Amy, of course, she's delighted that the holes are running out with her lead still at 8 strokes. How records seem to go in spasms, don't they? They get broken in spasms.
Yeah, very quickly. The record that the Women's Open record, Peter, was established actually last year by Geraldine Britz at 284. So Amy seems to be well on her way to breaking that record.
That's Hollis Stacey replacing her ball. And as we said enough times, all these competitors now, they're playing for lots of prize money and a lot of prestige. There's going to be only one winner. But these girls now will require to hold some putts if they're going to. The great battle, a series of battles will be fought out for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th places. Stacey now, Hollis Stacey, 2 strokes ahead of Jane Blaylock and Beth Daniel and Kathy McMullen, who are tied together at 7 over par. So Hollis has this putt, a long putt for a birdie 3. It's a good line, just not enough speed. Looks to be a certain par 4. Will she mark? It looks as if she's going to. She's going to just tap it in out of the way. This little putt to remain at 4 over par for the championship. Yes. Well, before play started today, Rhonda Glenn spoke to Hollis Stacey, who had lots of interesting, rather Amy Alcott, as Amy lines up her putt.
Well, I think it's a question of situation of maturity, and also I'm really swinging as well as I ever have at the ball, and I feel real confident.
Well, these are the sort of putts that Amy's been holding quite a few of. Interesting putting style, rather reminiscent, as we said yesterday. Doesn't look it in the actual practice swing of Johnny Miller. Very short, slow backswing and a really solid little tap. Grips the putter right at the end. And there. On line, and just not enough again, but another hole passes by and another par secured. And Amy Alcott remains 8 strokes ahead. Just 7 holes left to play. Up ahead, the 12th, Beth Daniel. Long putt for her too. Daniel 7 over. Good speed. Beautiful putt.
Enormously talented player, Peter. Everyone expects her to be someone who will win tournament after tournament over the next decade.
Well, as Beth Daniel holds out and the sun blazes down, we're leaving you for a couple of minutes, but we will return for more Open Golf. Well, there's the player's view from the 12th tee, 181 yards across the little pond. Trees overhanging the front right corner of the green. Long iron. And here's Hollis Stacey.
Ball's got to get up a little, Peter. That is a beautiful shot.
It's a lovely shot, and that ball right by the flag, believe it or not, is the leader, Amy Alcott, which we'll show you her shot on tape. Here it was a moment ago, and didn't this one bring the crowd to its feet? Here she goes. Simple, simple swing. And just watch this one. Nice bounce, forward run, and just skims the hole and goes no more than 34 inches past the hole. And when you're 8 shots ahead, those shots become even sweeter. That's how they stand. Alcott galloping away from Stacey, followed by Bladelock, Beth Daniel, Kathy McMullen, 7 over, Judy Clark, 8. More scores. Laurie Garbazi in with the best round of the day of 71. Scoring today, well, I think the heat is finally taking its complete toll on the ladies playing and on the men watching, on everybody else, because it really is very exhausting, and that 71 of Garbazi, an excellent score. We're looking down at Nancy Lopez-Melton and Jane Blaylock, and Bill Fleming's been with them, and he'll report on the trials and tribulations, the further trials and tribulations of our Nancy.
Perhaps not so much Nancy right now, since she looks, Peter, like she shot herself out of it with that double bogey at the 12th hole, but more with Jane Blaylock, who's played very steadily today, all pars except 1 bogey. Unfortunately, she caught the bunker here coming up to this green, and she lies 4. So I'm afraid Nancy has to resign herself to looking forward to LaGrange, Illinois in the 1981 Open.
I noticed, Bill, that she showed her golf ball to Jim Hand, the referee. I assume she must have damaged it during the play of the hole and declared it unfit for play.
It hit the cart path. It may have cut it.
Lopez burns the hole and goes a very missable distance past. Well, she started off really going for everything, and it hasn't worked for her at all today. But for one of such tender years, what a marvelous record she's got so far, and what great things she'll do in the future. Now, Jane Blaylock, putting for a par. Again, the upright putting stance. High wrists. Trying to hinge the wrist, make a pendulum. And looks good. Oh, that really bolted in. I don't think she would have cared for the one coming back had that missed, but it didn't. It disappeared. And a rather relieved Janie Blaylock moves to the side. Let's have a look at that again. Just what she takes the putter back, gives it a fair old free swing, and gives it a rare old charge at the hole, and it really starts to motor about here, and zonk. In she goes. Now Nancy Lopez, putting for a par, teasing putt, and it goes just left of centre. Now Hollis Stacey, 12th, putting for a 2, a birdie 2, and just offline and a little short of pace. That's in for a par 3. And now Amy Alcott with a very short putt for her 2 to go 5 under. And of course, Frank, we mustn't forget the extra prize should she beat the championship record.
Yeah, quite so, Peter. A golf publication has offered a premium of $25,000 if she would have set a new open record.
Confident little tap into the hole and another birdie, and oh, she's feeling good. Feeling good. Happy face. Even par for the day. 5 under for the championship. 9 strokes ahead. And what does it matter if it's a little warm? That's how they stand, and we'll return to Jim McKay up his cool tower at the 18th.
Yes, our thermometer up here right this minute, Peter, says 101 degrees. That's how cool it is up here. Well, Hollis Stacey, although trailing by that large margin, is still in second place in this championship. An interesting young woman from a large family in Savannah, Georgia. Let's meet her a little bit. Savannah, Georgia is one of the principal ports on the East Coast. It's also in many ways a page out of the Old South, the city of quiet byways and lovely homes. City of statues and soft voices and lots of history. It's also the home of a 2-time U.S. Open golf champion. Hollis Stacey lives with her father, Jack, an architect, her mother, Tilly, a member of the USGA Women's Committee, and her 9 brothers and sisters in this house on East Gwinnett Street. We asked her how she started in golf.
My decision to play golf came by accident. I was playing tennis and I was swimming a lot, and I got swimmer's ear, and so I couldn't swim. And then I got sick of playing tennis, so golf was the next thing. And that's when I first got hooked into golf, and I played incessantly. 45, 54 holes a day. My mother had dragged me off the golf course. Coming back to Savannah is important to me because I feel rejuvenated being with my family and my close friends. My sisters have had a great influence in me. I helped raise them. At one time, my mother had 5 between the ages of 1 and 5. So I was changing diapers for 6 years. Well, my parents have given me the opportunity to be the person that I am. They haven't pressured me, and they've given me great independence, and which has helped me to become an individual. Going out on the boat with my brother-in-law, David, and my sister, Laurie, is a special treat for me because it's a release from the pressures of the tour, and I get to go out on the boat and go fast as I can without worrying about markers or whatever, and I love the feeling of the salt air against me. I take the bitter with the sweet, and I try to play like gangbusters when I'm playing golf, but when I'm away, I try to get away, and I try to come back here or other places to get away from the tour.
Hollis Stacey, a winner of 5 USGA championships, and she's still only 26 years old. That's right, she won 3 U.S. Junior Girls Championships in a row and 2 Women's Opens in a row. The only people who have won more USGA championships than Hollis Stacey are Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, Joanne Carner, and Glenna Collette Vare in another time. That's quite a group to be with. Bob Rosberg is down on the fairway with a special report. Bob?
Jim, I think that the one thing you have to say now is that everybody's playing for second place. You know, it'd really be a great tournament if Alcott were not playing in it, but she's just lapped the field. It's always bad to talk about records when you're out here trying to win a National Open, but I think that that's all there is to it right now. I also think you're going to see Hollis Stacy playing a little safe now because she knows she can't win, and she's actually just going to try and hang on to second place.
You're very close to them, Bob. Do they seem to be suffering from the heat? Do they seem to be fading at all?
Well, I'll tell you, they both have played real well. Hollis has three-putted twice and is still only one over par, and Amy's even par and has a chance to shoot 4 rounds under par, which has never been done.
Okay, so a report from Bob Rosberg on the hot fairways of Richland Country Club. Okay, that's the way they stand, a 9-stroke lead for Amy Alcott at the moment. Right now we're going to have a message from the United States Golf Association. The man delivering it, Alistair Cook.
There are golfers who don't know their telephone number or even their birth date, but all golfers know their handicaps, both the true handicap and the one they use at cocktail parties. Many of you must remember Ellsworth Vines, one of the top tennis players of all time. At the end of his career, he switched to golf. In fact, he became a golf pro. And he once said, "At my tennis peak, there were only about 6 players in the world who could give me a game. But in golf, I can play a club member with a 23 handicap, and he gives me a rough time." But there was a time when every club in the United States had its own handicapping system. The USGA brought them all together and invented a simple national system which makes it possible for me to play Gary Player and beat him. Maybe.
Shall we go?
Let's see.
Okay, well.
This message was furnished by the United States Golf Association.
Back again live at the U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship. Jim McKay at the 18th tower, Dave Marr and Rhonda Glenn, and here is Beth Daniel putting for a birdie on the par 5 13th hole. This is a hole where Nancy Lopez Melton had a 9 in the first round. She's had a tough week here. Well, that's going to leave her one coming back. Beth Daniel twice won the United States Amateur Championship, 1975 and 77.
Jim, Beth Daniel has had a little bit of a problem. She's been so emotional on the golf course until recent months, and she's beginning to get that under control. It's going to help her play tremendously.
14th fairway, Nancy Lopez Melton, second shot on this par 4 hole. Bill? Okay, well, we see it quite clearly there. Safely on the putting surface. We're going to come back again to Beth Daniel. But it did seem like she was more even-tempered as an amateur than she was during her first year on the Pro Tour. I mean, she's been known to toss a club or two, hasn't she?
Yes, she has. And, of course, we constantly hear people referring to the professional golfers as being boring, but that's not true. They have to learn to put a lid on their emotions, or they're not going to be good players, and Beth has learned this.
Beth Daniel moving off the 13th green, the par 5, as we move toward the conclusion of the 1980 U.S. Women's Open. There it is, 9-stroke lead for Amy Alcott over Hollis Stacy, the 2-time former champion. Jane Blaylock there, Beth Daniel, Kathy McMullen, Judy Clark. And of course, Dave, this thing with Nancy Lopez Melton is beginning to build in exactly the same way as the Tom Watson story. For several years now, both of them have almost totally dominated men's and women's golf. They've broken all the money-winning records and everything, but neither of them has yet won a U.S. Open, and that must begin to build in your mind, doesn't it?
Well, that, of course, depends on the person. I know that they both point at it, and they both say that they will not be happy until they win the U.S. Open, but I feel like that they're going to win. I don't, you know, very rarely do you have a player that's as great as a Tom Watson or a Nancy Lopez go through their career without winning an Open, but it has been done, a la Sam Snead in the men's and Kathy Whitworth in the women.
That's right. 2 outstanding examples of that. 2 of the greatest players of all time. Neither one won the U.S. Open, men's or women's. Well, there's Nancy Lopez. A bit of a breeze blowing, but it really just blows the heat into your face out there today. In fact, we talked to Nancy a little bit earlier, Rhonda did, about the heat.
What adjustments do you make in your game when you have to play in this kind of heat?
Well, I think I get a lot more rest. I go to bed early, and I eat breakfast very early so that I won't feel sick by the time I tee off. And I drink a lot of fluid and just try to relax, because I think when you're uptight in heat like this, it's harder on you, especially when you're out there and there's enough pressure on the golf course.
Nancy Lopez Melton with a comment on the heat, and there she is in our live picture. Remember, she started the day 4 over par. She's now 12 over for the championship, 8 over for the day. If she pars in from here, she'll have a 79, and she doesn't get too many of those. As we said, the breeze whipping the flag there at 14, but it really doesn't have that cooling, or as you called it yesterday, Dave, wind chill effect that would bring it down to 80, 89 or so.
No, this is more like West Texas, Jim. That's a hot wind blowing.
Okay, here we have Jane Blaylock putting for birdie on the par 4 14th. Caddy standing as he should on the shadow side of the hole, immobile, right? So we'll not see caddies wearing spikes in a golf tournament either.
It's a good idea. Wear sneakers.
Mm-hmm. The fewer spike marks out there, the better. And of course, they're necessary for the golfers, but not for the caddies. Jane well shielded, or as well as you can be. She got 2 hats on, it looks like. Now we're going to move over to Hollis Stacy at the par 5 13th hole. Got a bunker to negotiate. Bob?
Well, she had a terrible second shot, but that's right at the hole. I think it's a little short up there as I see it land.
Yeah, it is considerably short, Bob. Now let's move well up the golf course to Joanne Carner, one of the great names in women's golf. Won 5 U.S. amateurs before she turned pro. She's won 2 U.S. Women's Opens. Just a great player. And talking about adjusting and controlling your personality, she has done that very well.
Yes, and she's certainly one of the all-time popular players, Jim.
Now, Amy Alcott, 3rd shot at the par 5 13th. So, there it is. Hole high, as they say, just a little bit off the putting surface, but it shouldn't be a major problem. Even par for the day, and just about nobody is doing that. We've had 2 rounds of 71 so far. Lori Garbazy and Judy Clark. Lori coming in at 10 over for the championship. Judy Clark at 8 over for the championship. So she is the leader among those who have finished their 72 holes. But there is the way they stand out on the golf course at the moment. Well, 9 strokes between Amy Alcott and Hollis Stacy. We might start looking forward to the greatest winning margin, or at least checking that out. It was 12 strokes by the great Mrs. Mildred Babe Didrikson Zaharias in 1954. Well, that's not out of sight quite. Here is Hollis Stacy, however, with a birdie attempt at 13, the par 5 hole. A good attempt it was, but drawing back a little bit. That was on tape, and she went on to tap that in for a par 5 to remain at 5 over for 4 over for the championship and 1 over for the day. Now Amy Alcott on the left for a possible birdie. Joanne Carner on the right at 18 for the same thing. Well, anybody gaining a stroke on par today has been a rarity. Let's see if either one of them can do it. Joanne?
It's a good putt, Jim.
Short.
Good putt, though.
Ball wilted in the heat a little bit, Dave.
Everything is wilted.
Yep. Now, Amy? Just the way she's been playing all the way around, never leaving herself, or seldom leaving herself, a tough par putt. She had 1 yesterday, but she made it on 17.
She's only had 1 3-putt green in this tournament up until today, Jim. Hollis Stacy has had 7.
That tells a great part of the story, as a matter of fact. Now, Beth Daniel has chosen to play the 14th hole in a different way than anybody else. I know she did it the first day, and she's done it again today. Remember Lon Hinkle's tree, Dave, in the U.S. Open at Inverness last year? Well, she's done the same thing, driving intentionally from the 14th tee to the 13th fairway. This is a much more difficult way to do it. And she hit a tree this time, which kind of figures, doesn't it?
Well, I talked to Lou Graham, who's a member here and plays a lot of golf here, and he says he always enjoys seeing someone try to go that way when they're his opponent, because he's tried it a number of times, and that is not the way to go, my man.
Well, Beth Daniel did it on opening day, and although she got away with it, the flagstick she was shooting at was on her side of the green as she came in, so she ended up way on the other side of the green. It just doesn't seem to be a percentage shot at all.
Well, she couldn't do that if she wasn't such a long hitter either.
And there is where the pin placement is today. Again, the standings in the Women's Open, Alcott and Stacy 1 and 2. We'll be back live.
Well, it's still hot and sticky, and still Amy Alcott leads the way. 9 strokes ahead, but all sorts of strange and wondrous things happen in the world of golf. I seem to remember the mighty Arnold Palmer being seemingly in an invincible position once. Frank, some time ago, was it in San Francisco?
Well, Arnold had a 7-stroke lead over Billy Casper with 9 holes to play in the Open at San Francisco in 1966. He lost the lead and lost the playoff the next day.
But even in the playoff, he was again ahead. So, am I right? I'm sure he was well ahead in the playoff.
I think he led by 2 or 3 at the after 9 holes of the playoff. You're quite right.
So strange things can happen, but this is where, you know, it's one thing to hit the ball and it's another thing to learn how to play. Here's Beth Daniel, this very promising young player. Long putt. Smooth one, just turned across the hole. Two 71s, Judy Clark, Nori Gabazi today are the best scores. The par here is 71. This was Amy Alcott, the leader, driving at the 14th. Just watch her simple swing and how that right leg just slides up there. Very much for hands and arms, not a lot of body movement. Good, easy, solid swing. It just goes up the side of the fairway and the edge of the cut just nudges it back onto the low cut of the fairway. Ideal position. Hollis Stacey. Amazing how many players now, both male and female, do the Jack Nicklaus bit. That's standing behind and lining it up. That's what she's trying to negotiate. Slight little dog leg left to right, fairway slopes from left to right. So the ideal drive is up the left side, just moving a touch to the right.
Notice how she's standing outside the tee markers. The rules permit her to do that as long as the ball itself is inside the teeing ground.
And she's a little bit tight down the right-hand side, but it looks to be all okay. Up ahead, Beth Daniel putting for a 1 over par. So she goes to 8 over par for the championship. That's looking back from the 14th green. Alcott on the right, Stacey on the left.
You know, it's hard to get excited about an event with a 9-stroke lead, but if you think of it in terms of sheer artistry, it's really quite extraordinary. You don't win major golf events by 9 strokes.
Well, lots of us don't think you should, unless it happens to be us that's doing it, Frank. Yeah, then it's nice. A good view here, though, of Amy's swing. A good setup. She seems to grip the club or all the clubs, in fact, even for the short little chips and putts, right at the end of the shaft. Uses the full length of the shaft. A little bit short and maybe shut in the backswing, but you notice a simple position. Just watch how she keeps her body fairly still. Has that Gary Player step after it and pulls it, but you see a little fortuitous bounce, just goes through the back of the green, just caught the slope, knocked it towards the hole. Now all she has to do, as the great Henry Longhurst used to say, was keep knocking it up the fairway and towards the green and not too many putts. Now Hollis Stacey from the other side of the fairway.
This was really a big drive she hit here, Peter. Very long drive, just has a little later and into the green.
She's kept going very well, Bob, hasn't she? I mean, the quality of her golf, she's had several. Rhonda was saying that she's had, what, 6 or 7 3 putts to Amy's 1, so she must have played an awful lot of good shots.
She has played very well. Here's one going right at it.
Oh, beautiful shot. Got one hard bounce, and then it stopped about 15 feet past. The 17th, this rather controversial, and well, slightly ugly-looking hole with the cart path down the left and a big chain-link fence, and you drive to the corner and then turn immediately left wheel up to the green, which has quite a lot of slope on it. Now, this is Donna Young, who is, or was up until this event, the leader of the money list for the year. A very deliberate player, a slow backswing. Back she comes and just pushes it through. Lovely shot. She's four over though for today, 10 over for the championship, and that's the view as we look down at the 17th, and there's the scoreboard in the 1980 US Women's Open Championship.
We're back again live at the Richland Country Club, Nashville, Tennessee. U.S. Women's Open for 1980 under a broiling sun. Kathy McMullen on the 17th hole. She's at 7 over for the championship, 2 over on today's round. She's played very well this weekend.
A couple of birdies that really helped, Jim. Put her in there with a chance for second place, just in case Hollis should falter some. Whoops.
Jim, Kathy is another player who plays well in the major championships.
That's true. We have noticed that through the years, particularly the U.S. Women's Open. Now let's take a look at the leader. This is on tape from a moment ago. Her third shot on the par 4 14th. She was off the putting surface, as you see. We're in the process of watching here, it appears, almost certainly the greatest individual performance in the history of the U.S. Women's Open. That was not the kind of shot that has been putting it together. Amy Alcott almost certainly will break the record for this championship, which was set just last year by Geraldine Britz. Now Hollis, that was a birdie for her on tape, playing along with Amy, of course, bringing her back now to only 3 over for the championship, and even par on today's round. And once again, there have only been 2 even par rounds today. Might spot a couple of people you haven't seen who were on the leaderboard this morning, and you may be wondering about. You saw Donna Capone-Young there, but Barbara Moxons, for example, started the day at 6 over. She's now 14 over with 1 hole to play. The par putt for the leader. There it is. She simply has not shaken all week long. We spoke of Donna Capone-Young, twice a winner of this championship. Started the day at 6 over, now 10 over. This is for a birdie at the 17th hole. And a fine approach, if you remember, we saw it. Okay, a birdie. It brings her back to 9 over for the championship, 3 over on today's round with 1 hole to play.
Jim, we were talking about how very difficult the course has been today for some of these players, and the scores are so high. Former U.S. Open champion Mary Mills said that this course just wears you down after a while, and in this tremendous heat, you just feel that you can't fight it anymore, which may be one reason the scores are so high.
This tremendous heat now officially stands at 99 degrees. It's still going up. On our tower here at 18, it's 102. Stands over as long as Jack there, doesn't she? And missed it.
Well, maybe she stood over a little too long.
Yeah, looked like it, didn't it, Dave? Of course, you have to know what's going through her mind, but that seemed to be the effect. So Kathy McMullen moves on to 18. Sandra Post for a par on 15. She misses it. She has had a terrible day. She started at 4 over. She is now 15 over or 11 over for the day. She's had 3 double bogeys in her round today, and you would seldom see her go 2 over par in a hole 3 times.
In all fairness, Sandra has also had a very bad cold, and that's not easy to handle in this kind of weather.
Well, she started with 79 on opening day, then she came back to 68, then 70 yesterday, and now it's gotten out of hand today. Sandra Post playing today with Beth Daniel, who started the day 4 over, now 8 over, 4 over for the afternoon.
I'm very impressed with this young lady, Jim. She can really carry the ball a long way. Really, real fine player. Gets the ball up very strong through the ball.
Has 2 United States amateurs, major championships to her credit. Almost certainly will win this one day. But then you would have said that of Kathy Whitworth about 20 years ago. It just never did happen. Okay, it's the 1980 U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship. If you've just joined us, The leader is Amy Alcott at 5 under for the championship, even par on today's round, apparently headed for a record. Playing with Hollis Stacy, who won this tournament twice in a row at Hazeltine and at the Country Club of Indianapolis, 1977 and 78. Last year, she said she finished 15th and it felt like 155th. She was used to winning it. Well, now she's second.
This hole's playing into the wind today, Jim, and the pin is all the way back, so it's going to take a good long iron shot in here today.
Okay, we're going to be taking a station break here
This ball's
shortly.
way to the right.
Looked like either her slip, her grip rather, was wet, or her hands may have had a little perspiration on Bob because she let go going through the ball.
Yeah.
She put it in the same place that Sandra Post was, and it just shows that it was very fortunate that that bunker was rigged, because it's in exactly the same spot.
Be specific, by station break, I was referring to a station identification, one of those quick little numbers will be coming up to alert the stations. Now here's Amy Alcott with the handkerchief around her neck. She wets it periodically, cool water, and puts it on there. Seems to help a little bit.
Anything you can to stay a little cool.
Well, you know, they say there is no break in sight in Nashville in this weather for at least the next 5 days.
Well, here comes a ball so far left you can't believe it.
Really?
This ball is to the left of the bunker, left of the trees. Actually a pretty good break, though, because it got past the last tree, and she's just going to have to pitch it over the bunker now, but very, very difficult shot left.
Think they both might be getting the wet hand syndrome out there, as Dave mentioned? That certainly is not the way Amy's been playing. Let's take that 5-second pause right now for station identification. About to play her final hole in this year's championship is Donna Capone Young, who won at Pensacola and in Muskogee this championship twice, who is the leading money winner of the year up till here. However, Amy Alcott, by winning this championship, will take over the money lead for the year. Donna Capone Young from Los Angeles.
Kick right.
You heard her saying kick right.
Yeah.
On the 18th hole, and did it. Yep, it's okay. That was her tee shot on tape as we come back here. Now Kathy McMullen's tee shot. I'm going to show you that one. Kathy McMullen at 8 over for the championship, having just bogeyed the last hole.
Boy, you hate to three-putt some of those finishing holes, Jim. That's just like giving money away when you do that, especially on Sunday. There's nowhere to catch up. Just one more hole left, and you just three-putted, so try to get your concentration back. Play the last hole as well as you can.
Kathy's best year was 1975 when she was 8th on the money list. This year she's down in 36th position. Her best this year actually has been a tie for 13th. Well, looks like she's going to do better than that in the big one, in the Women's Open. Crowd keeps moving along. Not a large crowd that you would expect if the weather were different. Just 4,800 today for a total of 16,400 for the 4 rounds. They did much better than that last year at Brooklawn in Fairfield, Connecticut, but the conditions were different. It's an 8-stroke lead, remember. Now, let's go back out to 15 again to check into the travail of Amy Alcott. She's had very few of these through the tournament. Let's see how she handles this, having hit way to the left of the par 3 hole here. And that flagstick placement's kind of tough, Dave, from where she is.
Well, the one thing you have to do here, look, with the lead that she's got, just be sure you knock it over that bunker. Put it on the green. There's, between her and the top of the lip that you see there of the bunker, there's not too much room. Don't get cute now.
How's it look to you, Bob Rosberg?
Jim, she has a pretty good lie to play the shot, actually, and there's a little more room than it appears. The pin is about 15 feet from the edge of the green, but there's another 15 feet over the bunker, so she's got about 30 feet to play with there.
Well, you see it right there. There's the flagstick in the middle of your picture, the bunker, just this side of it. Very graphic illustration of the problem.
Good-looking shot. Just like Dave said, get it on the green.
That's right. So she'll have trouble making her par here. A long way from the hole in 2 on the par 3 hole. Again, she is even par so far today. Now we're going up to 18. Donna Capone Young with her second shot on the finishing hole. A slightly uphill par 4. Kathy McMullen's already on the green, her fellow competitor of the day. Well, as Bob Rosberg says, straight at it. but it kicks a little bit right, but geez, lovely shot.
Two very nice shots there.
Hollis Stacy out of the bunker at 15. And there's the result of that. Next week, we're going to be at Muirfield in Scotland for the British Open Golf Championship of 1980. For the first time in history, it's going to finish on a Sunday, so we'll have Saturday and Sunday coverage. Saturday will be on a tape delay, as we almost always have brought it to you in the past, but Sunday will be live coverage, Eastern Time, starting at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, 9 o'clock Central, and then it'll be played in pattern, as they say, at 10 o'clock on the Pacific Coast. But try to get those times in your mind. 10 o'clock if you're Eastern or Pacific in the morning, a week from today, the final round of the British Open. Have a feeling that Jack Nicklaus will still be on that high when he begins to play on Thursday, Dave, and Trevino coming off his win at Memphis. Every time he's won at Memphis, he's gone on to win the British Open.
Uh-oh, look out.
Amy Alcott now surveying her putt, needing it for a par. She wants to finish this up just as neatly as she can. Rhonda talked to Amy a little bit earlier.
I remember when you used to hit balls to the tomato cans in your backyard. Now you're contending for the U.S. Open. There's a big difference, isn't there?
There's a big difference between putting into soup cans in your front yard when you're 8 and 9 years old, and now this is really the dream of every young woman athlete would be to be in the forefront and have a chance to win the U.S. Open.
The way things are going, she can start stuffing the money in the tomato cans in the front yard.
As Samuel Jackson allegedly does.
That's right. Assuming she wins this championship, she will be the leading money winner of the year with more than $152,000, and it's only July.
This shows you how much the tour has grown, Jim.
That's
Not only
right.
the men's tour, but the women's tour also.
That for a par, it's not going to be. The tap-in will give her a bogey 4 on this hole for Amy Alcott to go to 4 under for the tournament. Yes?
Jim,
Rhonda.
you know, this pressure also is a tremendously draining thing on these players. Amy told me last night she's been sleeping about 10.5 hours a night, and I'm sure a great deal of that has to do with the prestige of this tournament and knowing how well she has to play in order to win it.
Can you imagine if we'd all been here all week without air conditioning? Wow. And people live for many centuries without air conditioning.
It did.
Hard to imagine.
It seemed like centuries when it was set on.
That's right. Now, Hollis Stacy. Remember, they were both in trouble on this par 3 hole. Amy was way off to the left. Hollis was in the bunker to the right. Amy did not make her par. Now, let's see if Hollis can. She's closer to the cup. That little hole, 4 1/4 inches in diameter. Donna Capone Young for a birdie on 18 on the right of your screen. There's Hollis. Nope, that'll be a bogey for her. Donna. And beautiful way to finish up the U.S. Open with consecutive birdies on 17 and 18. Donna Capone Young coming to 8 over for the championship, just 2 over on today's round, a round of 73. That is most creditable.
She's had a great year, Jim. Lead money winner, great lady to go with it.
Now Amy Alcott for the bogey 4. All right. Gets her to 4 under for the championship, 1 over on today's round. There's the way they stand. Still that 8-stroke lead for Amy Alcott over Hollis Stacy.
We're back at the 1980 Women's Open Golf Championship on a very hot and sultry day, and Amy Alcott is striding away, although she's dropped a stroke at the 15th, the long short hole, she's now still 8 ahead. Well, as we left you saw Donna Young hole a putt on the 18th for a 3. Playing along with her was Kathy McMullen, who had this putt for a 3 and boomed it right into the middle of the hole. So both those lovely ladies finished with rounds of 73. Kathy McMullen, a total of 291. Now, here's Nancy Lopez Melton at the 17th. Nancy, who's had a rather unhappy day, started at 4 over, now 10 over, 6 over for today. She had a 9 here at the 13th in the opening round, and never really got any consistency into her play, but that's a fine drive. Should be able to see round the corner, will she? Well, barely. That's how the 17th looks. You can see the fence down the left and the cart path and the bunker on the right. Nancy was in those trees to the right of the bunker yesterday. Now here's Blaylock, who's playing alongside Nancy Lopez. Good striker of the ball. And that one pitched and didn't run very far. Bill Fleming's been out there in the heat following these ladies. What about it, Bill?
Well, you know, you called it exactly right when you said it wasn't very far, and it leaves her quite a problem. I'm talking about Jane Blaylock, who incidentally, Peter, to combat the heat is wearing 2 hats. A visor and then a floppy kind of hat over it. Now, the problem here on this rather simple hard hole, as Dave Marr said, is the fact that she's got to go over this big tree in order to get to the green. So it presents a challenge.
Is the wind against very strongly, or did she play too conservatively,
I think
Bill?
she used a 3-wood. She's been pushing the ball so far to the right, I think she's just gone back to try to control it.
Well, there you have an excellent view from our handheld cameraman behind Blaylock, showing you the big tree up ahead and this very small target. Now there's a fence and the road behind the green, and although this hole's just over 300 yards, it really looks as if she's got a fairly longish, a middle to long iron. She's got to get height and distance and direction. Picking a spot. Trust that swing. Up and over. Has she got it right?
No, I think she's going to have it just a little bit too far up on the right side.
Well, we'll go to the 16th and see the trials and tribulations of Hollis Stacey. Bob Rosberg's there.
She really doesn't have any backswing at all. It's very restricted, and I doubt if she can hit the ball more than 100 yards, and here it comes, and that's just about how far it's going to go. But she has got it in the fairway, so it'll leave her a shot of a couple of 100 yards into the par 5.
Well, back to the 17th, and Nancy Lopez. This is Melton now. That's gone right at it and digs in and spins back. Leaves her an uphill putt on this very sloping green. Back to the 16th for Amy Alcott and Bob Rosberg.
Really perfect, because the ball may come out shooting a little, and she's got to take an iron and just try and keep it on the fairway. There's no way you can get within 120, 130 yards of this hole. So the women are definitely trying to keep their second shots in the fairway, because I tell you, it really is a premium here, because the fairways are as good as I've ever seen. And this is perfect, right down the right-hand side, bouncing into the left side of the fairway. It should just be perfect.
A little bit down the left side. You can see the wind there freshening. Flag being whipped by this very hot breeze, and that's the view looking down to the 16th green. Hollis striding away. Well, Rhonda Glenn earlier spoke to Hollis on many things, and as usual she came at some very interesting answers.
You and Amy have played together in many rounds of golf and competition since the early days. How do you feel about being paired with Amy?
Well, Amy and I go back a long time. I remember the first time I played Amy, she was 13 years old and I was 15. And she had me 3 down after 8 holes. And I was doing some foolishness, chipping in and making long putts, and I finally beat her like 4 and 3. But I knew right then and there that she was pretty tough, and she'd be one of my tough ones to contend with. So I'm looking forward to playing with Amy, and I know she's looking forward to playing with me. We go back and forth in sudden death playoffs, and she knows I'm tough, and I certainly respect her. I think she's playing a different golf course than me this week, though.
Jane Blaylock, third shot at the 17th. A little bit high, but slows down and comes in. That's beautifully judged. That ball looked to be running very speedily, and then got a little bit of check side and gives Jane a very holeable one for her par 4, having played rather a short tee shot. So 291 is still, or is indeed, the lowest score so far recorded, as we look down at Nancy Lopez, who, as we say, has had all sorts of problems, some brilliant holes and some disastrous holes, playing today in the national team soccer colours of Brazil, green and yellow. Well, they say to some people green are unlucky. Well, I don't know whether Nancy will come out in this outfit again, but certainly hasn't been her lucky colours today. But here she is putting for a 3 at the 17th.
Also the colors of the Tampa Bay Rowdies of the North American Soccer League, Peter.
Aha, I see. Well, that putt was rather more reminiscent of Pelé than Mrs. Melton. And that's the way it's been going. She's charged everything. She's shaved the hole. She's had a few wayward drives, but of course she has played so many brilliant shots. You remember her from the first time you ever saw her, Frank, you were telling me.
Well, when she was 15, she came out of New Mexico, where she played on a 9-hole sand green course and immediately won the Girls Junior Championship of America. She had exquisite manners. You know, the kind of person who knew the right thing to do. When her opponents, when she was to concede her opponents a putt, she didn't flick the ball away. She'd pick it up and hand it to the opponent, you know, with a smile, that sort of thing.
Well done. Good for, yes, it's nice to remember those days, and nice to see people still doing it. It's a dying art, sadly. Hollis Stacy at the 16th now at third shot. Bob Rosberg said she was a long way away, a couple of 100 yards or more, and you can see she's got a wooden club out. This is on tape. Over the brow of the hill. I doubt whether she can actually see the putting surface from way back there, and it is just in the sand, and that's 3 strokes. That was on tape, and we'll go now to the top of the hill again and see Amy Alcott's third shot live. And that's
it's a beautiful shot, Peter.
Oh, exquisite shot. Just a little hands and arms and that. Well, could it be the Alcott trademark, that little step after the ball? Nice to see. Blaylock got her par at the 17th, her par 4. Well, you've been following USGA messages throughout our various broadcasts this year, and here's another one from Alistair.
No decent golfer does that. You don't stand behind a player, you stay quiet, you recognize that there is an etiquette as well as a book of rules. And yet when this game got going in this country less than 100 years ago, every club had its idea of the rules and how to behave. And that's where the USGA came in, to codify the rules and to set a standard of sportsmanship that the Scots invented. No brawling with marshals, no tantrums on the course. Now, you know that the USGA runs national championships, several others, but it exists mainly for the millions of amateurs who want to play the same game on a good course. It has an executive committee and 25 subcommittees, and they get no pay, no expenses. They work, believe it or not, in this day and age, for nothing, because they love the game, and they want to keep it fair and logical and sporting.
This message was furnished by the United States Golf Association.
Back again live. Jim McKay at the 18th tower. Temperature reading up here, 104 degrees right now. Dave Marr with me and Rhonda Glenn. Amy Alcott with an 8-shot lead. Hollis Stacy in the bunker on the par 5 16th hole. This her 4th shot. Nice stroke.
It's well played, Jim. Especially it looked as though the lip of the bunker may have restricted her regular takeaway there, and you have to take it up a little more abruptly. Anytime you have to invent a shot, look out.
She's certainly still walking fast in these 100-degree temperatures, isn't she?
Oh, but just shows you the value of being young, James.
Yeah. Jane Blaylock on the 18th tee. 3 over for the day, 8 over for the championship. She's played very well. This the finishing hole. Par 4. Nancy Lopez Melton has already hit safely on the right side of the fairway. 356 yards, but it's slightly uphill. Plays a little bit
right again, Jim. You know, and that's been the problem she's had on the back nine. Everything has gone right in the rough.
You can see Nancy's ball there. By the way, there have only been 8 subpar rounds in this entire tournament, none of them today. Amy Alcott has 3 of the 8, and she could have another one yet today because she's going to get back even. Nancy Lopez, of course, having major problems. She's won 2 tournaments this year, but some people think that her game's not in its best shape. I asked her about that a little bit earlier.
I'm playing much better. I've been working on my game the past 2 months, and my swing is getting better. What happened is that my swing changed. During the winter, I didn't practice a lot, and I came back out, started playing, and I came out with a very flat swing. And it just wasn't my swing, so I couldn't really hit the ball the way I knew how to hit it. So I finally realized this when I shot 83 at the Coca-Cola Classic. I realized that something was really wrong. So I had to really stop and look at my swing. My dad came to Cincinnati and helped me work on my swing, and he says, "You're really flat." So now I've started to work on my swing to get my hands back up in a high position, and it's working, and I've gotten a lot of my confidence back, and I'm playing better. I'm hitting the ball more solid, and everything's just falling back into place.
Well, we'll take a look at that swing, and we see Nancy Lopez in 1975 when she finished tied for 2nd in the Open at Atlantic City, and this week here in Nashville. I think you'll see on the screen on your left there, her left arm and the club are in a much straighter line than she is set up now. Gets the club back past parallel. Very long swing, still keeps her left heel on the ground. Still her own sort of takeaway where she took it inside very flat and then raised her hands, but almost the same length. Now, the part to me that she's missing now is I want you to look at her left heel at impact. 1975 on the ground, good and solid as you'd like it to be. 1980, left heel off the ground, causes you to spin out of the way, and that's what causes wild shots. Better swing then in 1975.
Very interesting comparison of the young woman who has an amateur tied for 2nd in this championship and the biggest name in the sport. This is Hollis on tape, putting for a par on the par 5 16th. Remember, she was in the bunker with her 3rd shot. Hit it up to here. I'm darned if she didn't do it.
Big plus for her too, Jim, there to not to lose any more strokes and get in and get 2nd place. If you can't be 1st, be 2nd.
Just 1 over for the day, 4 over for the championship. Incidentally, the low amateur, and she has concluded her rounds, Judy Oliver at 22 over par, total 306. The only other amateur who made the final 36 holes, Lyda Kinnicott, came in at 309. That's 25 over par. Not nearly as many amateurs in the final rounds or with as good a result as in previous years.
I think this indicates the improved caliber of play on the professional tour, the greater number of good players.
Mm-hmm. And I think more, as they do on the men's tour, they turn pro because when you have this much money, that seems to attract people.
Amy Alcott's birdie attempt on the 16th hole. Down it goes to bring her back to even par for the day. 5 under for the championship, 9-shot lead. 18th fairway.
Right. Sit down. Sit down.
A little short right, short left for the player, actually.
Yep.
Couldn't tell what kind of lie she had there, Jim, but in this Bermuda rough, which is pretty tough, 4 inches tall, and that's the USGA. That's why it's a major championship.
Okay, you saw the graphic of the 17th. Remember, this is one with out of bounds and the chain link fence on the left. 90-degree turn after you hit your tee shot, and you better put it in the right place. Amy Alcott, the championship leader.
How's that, Rossi?
That is perfect.
Okay, back to 18, Nancy Lopez Melton. Boy, she'll be glad to get in and have a cooling draft and just get out of here, I suspect.
Well, you have days like that, Jim, as long as you play this game, and that came in a little hot, just in the back right of the fringe there.
She did get a couple shots back. At one point, she was 12 over. Now she's 10 over. Now, Hollis Stacy with her tee shot on this tricky 17th hole. Of course,
Ball looks like it's hooking too much, Jim.
Whoop. Is it? No.
Well, it's
in the rough.
It's very questionable. It's in the fairway, but again, she's going to have to worry about that tree.
Oh, yeah. We can see that now on the screen. She could have a major problem with that tree, Dave, it looks like.
Well, there's a little more wind there today than there has been, and layup so important. You've got to take enough club to get past the corner.
Okay, well, that's the way they stand as we near the finishing hole in the U.S. Women's Open. Back again at the Women's Open. Live coverage, of course, from Nashville, Tennessee. Amy Alcott with a 9-shot lead over Hollis Stacy. Amy on her way to the record. She'll win the $20,000 first prize, and in addition, that special $25,000 put up by the National Golf Magazine for anybody who breaks the record. And certainly, it's almost sure she's going to do that now. There you go. The other leaders, Bob Rosberg.
Well, I tell you, she really did something very, very intelligent here. She went over and looked at the scoreboard. I don't think she knew how she stood in relation to second place until she came over and looked at the scoreboard, and then she decided to just pitch it out. It's the only way she could have lost second place is to try and do something foolish and go for it.
Nancy chipping for a birdie. Would have been nice to at least end up that way. But she'll have a bit of a putt left for a par. She got a fine reception by the gallery beginning to concentrate around the 18th green here. Now we go back out to 17 again, Dave. And the leader.
Bet how long a shot does she have, Ross?
This shot's about 100 yards. Struck very well, played it safe to the right. A little long.
Yeah.
Well hit, though. I tell you, you can really do tricks with that ball off these fairways. They are just beautiful.
Well, when you have the Bermuda fairways and the bent greens, and they've had to syringe them, as we've talked about, to keep them from wilting in the heat, you've got ideal conditions to spin the ball.
Now back again to 18. Jane Blaylock with a longish putt for a par. Remember, her second shot was short. She chipped up this far, and the ball kind of pulled up on her. 8 over for the championship.
Pitching uphill there a little, Jim, and it's hard to tell that it's really that slow. Now, this putt won't do much braking at all. It's just a question of hitting it firm enough uphill. Well, she's been a good player during her career. Firm enough.
Tap. Oh, my goodness, Jane. Bring that one back. Nope, you can't do that. So she's got a tough one now for the bogey 5.
Well, the embarrassing thing, it's still your shot.
You know what it looks like is that almost surely, in fact, that we're going to have only 2 players under 290, and one of them may be under 280 if you can get a birdie. Here's Hollis. Third shot on tape. Drawing back. Remember, the 17th green is pitched almost right at you.
That's the most severely contoured green on the course, I believe.
A little bit like the one called the short hole at St. Andrews. That's pitched that way, isn't it?
Yes.
Now this for the bogey, as it said.
Twisted.
Oh, goodness, she knew that as soon as she touched it, too.
Yeah, well, we always do,
yeah.
Jim. You know, you may go through some theatrics or whatever, but it all started right here in my hands.
Yeah. So she marks the ball. She still has a putt for a double bogey 6. And that's going to cost her money. You know, the money drops off quite quickly in these tournaments. As you know better than we do, Dave.
Not only that, Jim, it's just so you've played 71 holes and, you know, you fight your heart out, all the conditions that you have to go through in a major championship, and then to come up to the last hole and make a double bogey.
First prize, $20,000, then $11,003, $8,500, $7,000, $5,600, goes down like that. Here's Nancy for the par. Well done, but it'll have to be wait till next year yet again for Nancy Lopez Melton in search of that first and very elusive United States Women's Open Golf Championship. Finishes at 10 over for the tournament, 294, 7 over for today. Excuse me, 6 over for today. That's a 77. Hollis on the left, and I saw Jane make her 2 over par 6, and there Hollis has put it up too high.
Leaves a little wiggler there at 17 for the bogey.
I think everybody is beginning to stagger a bit, you know.
Well, Bill was talking about, I believe he was talking about Jane Blaylock losing a lot of shots to the right. I know that when you get a little tired, your legs don't work as well, and in a lot of cases, that'll make you push it to the right. You'll move your head a little in front of the ball, and off to the right it goes.
Well, Bob Rustberg, let me ask you, you've just been walking. You haven't been playing. Honestly, how do you feel? Are you tired?
Well, I've got it a little easier than they have. I've been ducking from shade to shade, you know. It's not quite as tough as that they have, but I'll tell you, it's really hot out here. And you look at Sandra Post, she just finished in the 18th hole. She's 12 over par today, and, you know, that she just doesn't play like that. I don't care what the conditions are or anything. It just saps your strength, something awful out here.
Okay, we'll have you in very shortly.
Another birdie attempt.
For Amy.
Really swift going down that hill.
Ooh, hold it, Amy. Okay, not so bad.
Jim, it's impossible to overemphasize the importance of this championship. Amy was saying earlier this week she was going to try to think of this as just another tournament, and the fact that she had to even make that effort indicates
that
how
she
much
doesn't
value
think of it. It's just another tournament.
Yes.
Right. Now, Hollis.
You talked a minute ago, Jim, about the prize money and the extra bonus money. Also, the winner of the Open gets into the World Series of Golf this year for the first time. They're having a Women's World Series of Golf in Cleveland. So these are all things that make up a major championship. The name on a trophy, tough courses, and the people that have won them before.
I hope that Golf magazine is well insured, because they had to give $50,000 each to Jack Nicklaus and Hisao Aoki when they both broke the championship record in the men's U.S. Open. And now it looks like 25 more is gone. Here's Hollis. Okay.
Heart. Good putt. Good putt.
So Hollis Stacy has wrapped up second place, all but wrapped up second place. Always hate to say she's done it. Remember, we awarded the Open to Nicklaus, and then Aoki almost pitched into the hole from the boondocks.
Well, it makes it easy with a two-stroke, you know, lead there as far as second and third place is concerned. She can play 18 a lot easier. For par 4.
Yep. And she's got it.
Ooh, right, just rattle it right in there.
Even par for the day, 5 under for the championship. If she pars 18, she'll have 279. I suspect that would be a record that might stand for a few years. Of course, as Frank said, Rhonda, there's so many good players coming out now with Title IX and other reasons, too, I think, that the records fall quickly in women's golf.
Yes, and you can go to almost any golf course in the country, and you'll see a father out there with his little girl in a sawed-off set of golf clubs, because he realizes the riches and the fame that could await her. Of course, it's silly to think that everyone can become an Amy Alcott or a Nancy Lopez Melton, but it's nice that they have the opportunity.
Yes, it is. And there she is, proceeding over to the final hole. Scores of some other familiar players. Sally Little of South Africa there at 73 today. You see her total. Marlene Floyd, the sister of Ray Floyd. Pat Bradley, the long hitter, former ski instructor. Penny Pultz of Australia. Laura Baugh, she the pretty one. Lori Garbazy had a 71 today, even par. That's a very good round. Best of the day, in fact. Mary Mills, 79. There you see some higher scores. Debbie Austin had a good round there at 73. Donna White had a tough time, and Mrs. Oliver there is the low amateur member. She had a 75 today. Crowd making its way, but slowly, if you'll notice. You don't see them running as you often would up to get a good vantage point on 18, although there is now quite a nice crowd gathered around the 18th green. There she is, trying to tighten the handkerchief around the neck.
that helps
Maybe
cool her
trying
off.
to loosen it, Jim. Maybe not tighten it. But in this position, you see the graphic of number 18. Just aimed just inside the fairway bunker you see on the right there. Take a look at Amy's grip, and she's got a very good grip. I think sometimes some of the ladies get a little too strong in their left hand, but her grip's straighter than a lot of them.
Well, there's one that she just topped along the ground, David. She
Really?
Yeah, she never got off the ground. Went about 120 yards up the left-hand side and into the rough.
Isn't that amazing? After the kind of golf that she has played.
Well, maybe it's hit her all of a sudden just what is about to happen, Jim. You play, and then you've got it within your grasp, and maybe she wasn't thinking about her swing as much as she was thinking about the awards presentation.
Now Hollis Stacy, who's had earlier rounds of 75, 71, 70, is 2 over on today's round.
I really like the way this girl plays right here. Same kind of grip. Same head. Good swing. Good rhythm, boy.
That one's up in the air.
Absolutely perfect.
Yep. And there you see the gallery behind the 18th green applauding another shot up here as we stay with the leaders. We have that other shot for you, however. And Sandra Post, Canadian, who started the day at 4 over, 16 over, coming to the 18th, putting for a birdie. Had a real long, hard afternoon. 12 over par for the day to this point. That would give her a round of 83. But that's what it was going to be. Par 4 for Sandra Post, a round of 83. She finishes at 16 over.
That's too bad.
Now live, Beth Daniel started the day 4 over. Now 10 over. Had a double bogey. 2 over par on the last hole on 17. This for a par.
Needs to hit it a little. Golly, how did that stay out?
But it did. That's another bogey for Beth Daniel to put her to 11 over for the championship, 7 over or 78 on today's round. But you'll be seeing her for many years to come. And
very impressive player, Jim. She could really carry the ball a long way.
And now there are only 2 players left on the golf course. Here's her reaction. There goes the club. I like the putter being projects it high in the air. Okay, now we have Bill Fleming down below.
Tanner did the same thing I did today.
Okay, Bill.
Well, you know, it's wonderful to see somebody who has had not too good a round to come off and still keep smiling. Nancy, there's always next year, but what happened today? It started really at the second hole, didn't it?
Well, I just started bogeying, and I just kept going and making more and more bogeys, and then I got into some trouble on number 11. I hit the trees and went in the water, and I just kept on trying, and I came back and I made some birdies, so I brought myself back a little bit. I wish I would have played better today because I was looking forward to a good day.
I know you have to catch a plane, so we'll let you go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Amy Alcott's second shot after the top drive on 18. Nicely bunted down the fairway.
Well, that's all she could try to do, I'm sure, was that, not to go for the green at all, just put it where she can put her third shot on, and, you know, even if it's a score of 280, if she should make a bogey here at the last hole, that is still a new record and terrific playing. I don't care who or where or when. 280 is low for 72 holes.
Male or female.
That's right.
There's Amy on her way to that new record. Even a bogey would set the record by 4 shots, not by 1 or 2.
That's an incredible performance in this championship.
This coming Saturday, a big one on ABC's Wide World of Sports. You're going to get to see that fight. That's right, Sugar Ray Leonard against Roberto Duran. The one that took place up there in Montreal. You can judge for yourself next Saturday at 4:30 Eastern and Pacific, 3:30 Central Time, an expanded edition of ABC's Wide World of Sports. And, of course, on that same day, we'll bring you the 3rd round of the British Open. And the next day, live coverage starting at 10 o'clock Eastern Time of the final round of the British Open. Hollis Stacy.
Jim, I might mention that the caddy who is caddying for Amy Alcott has made this walk to an Open championship 2 other times as Hollis Stacy's caddy when she won both of her Opens.
I imagine that's occurred to Hollis as she looks over at that young man. Here it comes.
Looks like a good shot if it's the right club.
Oh, yeah.
Bad shot. Beautiful shot.
That was the right club.
Really like the way she plays. Boy, just no messing around, just right at the hole.
Time for a quick word with Jane Blaylock. Jane, you played so well today, and then all of a sudden things just collapsed at 16 for you, and then a tough hole at 17.
Well, I sure did. You know, I played hard all day. I didn't hit the ball that well, but I just kind of played from the heart. I got up and down. I made the 6 and 7 footers when I had to. And on 16, I got a bad break. A ball just barely bounced in the bunker, and I got a little bit greedy, and I made double bogey. And on, I think, 18, I was trying to force it. And I think in this heat, it's so easy to lose your concentration.
I was going to ask you about the heat, because you're wearing 2 hats out there at one time.
Well, thank goodness it wasn't a beauty contest. I would have lost. Yep.
All right, better luck next year, Janie. All right, Jim.
Third shot now for the about-to-be present queen of American golf, Amy Alcott. She's never won the U.S. Open, but of course she's only 24 years old, born on Washington's birthday.
Just a little knockdown 8-iron, way to right, but on the green.
Yeah, it's okay, Bob. And if she can get down in 2 from there, she will have an even par round of 71. There have only been 2 of those today by Laurie Garbazy and Judy Clark. That was considerably earlier in the day, too. Temperature on the tower right now, 101. Last official temperature we had in Nashville was 99. It might be 100 now because the high temperature yesterday was around 4 o'clock, a little after. Here is the reception for Amy Alcott.
Oh, she's just played great this week, too.
She's won a lot of tournaments, but this has to mean the most to her of all.
Oh, yeah, this is it. This is the national championship. This will be her 12th victory since turning professional, including 2 this year, and including, significantly, last week. Very often, when a player has a hot hand, it continues for a while.
This shows what a competitor, too, because sometimes when you win a tournament, you have a little letdown for the next week. But she took it as a positive thought.
And there is the trophy that awaits her very shortly. Reception from a good several thousand moist palms gathered around the 18th green.
Walking onto the green, Hollis Stacy looked at the scoreboard, Jim, just to be sure of what I'm sure where her position is as far as standings in the tournament, so she knows full well she has a 2-shot lead as far as the 3rd place finish, so she could finish second all by herself, even if she 3-putted.
Second will be worth $11,300. Kathy McMullen will be third, $8,500.
Jim?
Yes?
To put Amy's achievement in perspective, I know that Hollis told her mother, Tilly Stacy, that on the eve of the championship, that she thought 4 or 5 over par would win.
And that's what she's done. She's achieved what she thought would win, or is about to. She's 5 over for the championship. But no one figured. I will say Donna Capone Young said she thought a subpar total was going to win this. But I think when saying that, she may have been thinking that a good many people would be under or close to being under, and that isn't the case at all.
This is a rout.
Sure is. Should this go in, it would be her 4th straight subpar round. Gave it a chance. She was going for it.
Well,
why not?
Why not? It is right. I mean, she can mess around that green for about half the rest of the afternoon and still win.
Well, she'll have to look this one over a little bit before. There's the clubhouse of Richland Country Club in Nashville, where everything has been extremely well organized, despite the heat. We have been very well received. We're very appreciative of that.
What a nice club, nice course, Jim.
Yeah.
Good condition. Another reason why I'm sure that Amy played so well.
Nashville's celebrating its 200th anniversary, you know. They call it Century 3 as they move into the 3rd century. Hollis Stacy from another old southern city, Savannah, GA.
all day long. The putt looks as though it breaks to the left, and if you get it just on the top side, as Hollis did, it just stays there.
Okay. Just marked it for a moment to make sure there's no dirt on it or anything.
Yeah, but this adds to her record in the Open, though, too, Jim. Twice winner, runner-up. I mean, you don't like to be runner-up, but still, that's shows how well you play in majors.
Well, at age 26, there should be a good many more, maybe first and second for Hollis Stacy in this national championship. 2 over par round of 73 today for a total of 5 over. That's 288. And now what may be the final shot of this championship. Amy puts it in the hole.
For a bogey, but a score of 280, Jim. That's marvelous playing.
Okay, there it is. A new record by 4 shots for the U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship for Amy Alcott.
That's great.
Isn't that marvelous? And, of course, the caddy she embraced there is used to this act. It's the 3rd time he's done it. Twice before with Hollis Stacy. But the woman of the day, of the weekend, Amy Alcott, the new national champion. She'll get $20,000 first prize and that special prize of $25,000. That's a total of $45,000 for the weekend. The $25,000 is what they call unofficial money. To me, all money is official enough.
At your local store, it certainly is.
Okay, but her official total is over $152,000. She's also the leading money winner of the year. We'll be back live in Nashville. Back again at Richland Country Club, Nashville, Tennessee, where Amy Alcott has just won the United States Women's Open Golf Championship by 9 strokes, a record score by 4 shots of 280. 3rd place, Kathy McMullen and Donna Capone Young, Judy Clark, and Louise Bruce. Have a look at some of the other leaders. Nancy Lopez Melton shot 77 today, finished at 10 over, along with Jane Blaylock and Lori Garbazy, who had a fine 71. Beth Daniel, Joanne Carner, Eva Chang of Taiwan, and Patty Hayes at 11 over par. There is the new champion making sure of her scorecard. You've been watching her play for quite a while, Dave, haven't you?
I sure have, Jim, and it's really great to see her come along. I remember being in Los Angeles once at the Riviera Country Club, and I saw this young girl out on the practice tee, and I asked Mac Hunter, who was pro there then, who is that girl out practicing? Because you can't get too many people to practice. And he said, this young lady can play golf. And we went down and watched her, and she hasn't changed at all and has just played marvelous. I'm very pleased for her and her family.
So are we all, and I'm sure you are. Rhonda, you've been watching her for a good while, too.
Yes, Amy is just a delightful person, and I know this just caps off her career, even at this early an age.
Okay, again, running down some of those scores. Sally Little there, who holds the single-round record for the U.S. Women's Open, a 65. We saw that a few years ago. There you see Laura Baugh. Janet Alex, who played extremely well here. Sandra Spuzic, a former champion. Barbara Barrow, who won a tournament earlier this year. Kathy Ahern and Martha Hansen. See how high all of the scores were compared to Amy Alcott. That's what makes it really impressive.
Like Hollis said, it was as if she were playing another golf course, really.
That's right. Judy Oliver, low amateur at 306 or 22 over. Beth Solomon, Myra Van Hoos. Beth Stone there, Debbie Rhodes and Donna Horton-White, 307. Alice Ritzman playing in only her 2nd U.S. Women's Open at 309. Lyda Kinnicutt was the other amateur, you notice there. Marlene Haggie, Betty Burfeint. Boy, it was a tough way around for everybody. So, all of the other scores, and the reaction of the new champion of Amy Alcott of Santa Monica, California, at winning it for the first time, but almost surely we would guess not for the last. She's only 24 years old, and youth was certainly served here today in the 100-degree temperatures, as you would figure, but served in her person like nobody else.
Well, she's gone on a conditioning program, and I'm sure that has to help you. No matter what sport you play in, you better be in good shape.
Tournament chairman Stan Lindsay here was extremely helpful to us, as was green superintendent Jim Kirkley. Certainly deserves a great pat on the back for keeping these greens literally alive during the championship. Frank Hannigan explained earlier that they're bent greens, and if you don't keep them syringed or watered just properly during the course of a day, bang, the whole green can die in the course of a couple of hours. But that has not been the case. It's been in beautiful shape.
I might mention that this year, for the second time, I heard no complaints about the golf course from the players, which is a great tribute to the USGA.
Certainly is, because it was prepared in typical USGA fashion. The rough was up. It was difficult for the women to play, but they accept that when they come here.
And the narrow fairways?
Mm-hmm. There's Amy Alcott saying it out loud as she goes over the score, because once again, we've said it so many times, but you're responsible for the accuracy of your own score when the round is done. And she's very thorough in everything she does in the game of golf. People gathered around the 18th green, waiting for the presentation. We'll not be able to stay for that, nor for an interview, I think, because Amy is taking that extra time, as she should, to check the scorecard. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Roone Arledge. Today's coverage was produced by Bob Goodrich and directed by Jim Jeanette and Bob Lanning. Our technical directors were Werner Gunther and John Allen. Our associate producer, Ben Harvey, and our associate director, Bob Hirsch. Be sure to be with us Saturday for ABC's Wide World of Sports, a special expanded edition beginning at 4:30 Eastern. The WBC World Welterweight Championship, remember, Sugar Ray Leonard against Roberto Duran. And next Saturday and Sunday, including Sunday Live, the British Open Golf Championship from Muirfield in Scotland. Nicholas will be there, Trevino will be there. Big ones.